or whatever you want to call it, that you received in the mail.
Everyone turn it in.
To either waive the assessment or not waive the assessment, whichever you want to vote, yes or no, whichever, but you need to turn it in, please. Well, that's out. Right? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Secretary of the Association is the secretary of the meeting, and that's Mr. Smaglia. Bill Smaglia.
Yes, I'm here.
And then I'd just like to announce that the treasurer, Mr. Lynch, has resigned, and Craig Espinazi will be taking his place, but Craig was on the board previously, so that's just to let you know that, and Mr. Willett is away. And now we'll take a roll call.
Bill Smaglia here.
Bill, Nancy Feenan here.
Craig Espinazi.
Okay, and it's okay. And the proof of the notice of the meeting is presented to be put with the minutes. And there's a quorum. Secretary is a quorum present. The minutes from the last meeting are here, which you have. Thank you. And if there's no objections, we'll just put them to revise.
No objection.
No objections? Okay, you file them with the minutes, with the affidavit, thank you. And, okay, so the next order of business is the consideration of the budget for 2006. And then also, and while we're doing, while we're talking about that and answering questions and whatever, the ladies will continue to count to make sure that we have 116 votes. The 116, whatever way that you're voting, it doesn't make any difference. We have to have 116, which is half plus one. With 230 units, so we need to have 116 ballots back from the mailing. And I'd just like to make a few brief announcements. The board plans to hold, this board plans to hold a special, this is a meeting just about our budget for 2006. We plan to hold a special meeting in January to discuss the hurricane damage assessment when we have gotten all our quotes from the people that we have given us quotes for the facade around the top, the mansard roof, and a couple of others that are out. We haven't gotten them back yet. As you can understand, people are very busy. And then we'd like to announce it at this time when you get the mailing for that meeting, should you have any questions or any other issues that you would like discussed at a meeting that you would like to bring up, if you would be so kind as to either contact the office by phone or drop them in the mailbox upstairs in the office so that we can put them on the agenda. We ask that they be pertinent to the association. And we'll also go over those at the meeting in January. Okay? Now, I also want to clarify something. The amount of the assessment that we're going to have to do all this up here will not be over $1,000. In fact, it would be, to the best of our knowledge, it's going to be between $700 and $800. To the best of our knowledge, we don't know for sure. Might be a little bit more, but it will not be. And if you have in your insurance policy a loss assessment, and I believe that we mentioned that in the letter that we sent out, that if you have a loss assessment clause, you can approach your insurance company, your homeowner's company, to pay for that assessment, whatever it might be. Because for instance, my insurance will pay me without my deductible. They don't charge a deductible for that hurricane. If you have the loss assessment clause, they'll pay up to $1,000 of an assessment that you're levied due to hurricane damage. So you have to check with your insurance policies, check with your insurance company, and if you don't have that rider or that special, you might want to put it in for next year because they tell us that we're going to have, more bad storms, whatever. But that, but that should take care of that. And that, in my particular policy, I don't have to deduct my $500 for that particular clause. So just let me just go. It's called. Just let me get through this and I'd like to say also that the Comcast contract was signed for 5 years, and the fee for 06 is the same as it was for last year. That was their price to us. Plus, we also have We've also gotten a free Comcast television in the clubhouse. We have our channel 95, that's given to us by them, and the cable internet, which is complimentary in the office, which will affect a savings to us of $20 a month because we presently have our internet through Bell South and we pay for it that way. Now, I'd also like to say that there was an issue with the payment of the money for the for the cable. It was pulled out of the expense list that is put together by the accountant on our grid, so that they took it all out. If you'll see, so the figure that you have that you received on your grid, that's going to be your new payment in January of 2006, represents what the increase is, including every single person has one fee for their Comcast. In other words, they figured out there's 14 different levels of ownership, and that's how we have the grid. And it's exponentiated by your percentage of ownership, okay? And for the last number of years, one of our, Mr. Rita, has complained to us that he felt that he was being charged more. And we said, God, we don't think so, but actually he was right, and we looked into it, and so as of January this year, every single person will be charged, I think it comes out to $30.34 for their specific bulk cable rate. That means everybody. And so that particular figure is put back into the mix after everything else was exponentiated to the 14 levels. Okay. Now, we also want you to know that we signed a lease. We signed a contract with the S&K Roofing Company. They've taken care of our roof for the past 10 years. And so we signed signed up with them again, because they do. As soon as we have a problem, or if we do have a problem, they come in. They come very promptly. And you need to understand, because it's something I didn't understand, that over that time when they come each year, they have a regular care program that they take care of, and they start, and they have it on a grid. And in between, if we have parts that we might have to have them come in, if it's leaking, which doesn't really do that too much, but they come on a certain amount of time, and they start with one side, and then they come through another and another, and they actually, over the course of the time, the entire roof is really replaced in this manner, so that it's not like they just come and repair if we have a leak. They are systematically taking care of our roof, and they're very reputable people, and we've had very fine service from them. So we just wanted you to know those two things. Okay, that's all being said. We have the budget for 2006, and as we had just said at the previous meeting, for those of you that weren't here, this budget was worked on by all of the board members, and the figures are based on the upcoming increases that we know about, and they are the electricity. I guess you know, you've read in the paper, it's going up 16-some%. Pardon me, gas is going up 30-some%. The water and sewer is going up 2.5%, and the storm water 5%. And these are the ones that we know about so far. And then the insurance, liability insurance is going to be going up about 25%. And our liability, we don't know for sure whether it might be between 25 and 27. We know that tourists they were told they're going to have a 27% increase, so it's going to be somewhere in there. So we had to allow for that. And the overall amount that is 14%, about a 14.8% increase over from last year, because of the increases all the way around, all over the board. So that being the case, let's see. Okay, all right. That's my story. And then, does anyone have any questions with regard to the budget that you received, Tony, Mr. Rubio? Okay. Also, I'd like to ask you just please, if you'll state your name and the unit that you own, please, and then each person has 3 minutes to talk, and then we'd like to give people a chance to speak if they wish, and then after that you can have a second question. So, can we start with that, Mr. Rubio?
Tony Rubio, Bristol 314. Nancy, last year I noticed when the audit was done, you folks wrote off $3,200 in people's maintenance. How come that's not been budgeted for this year?
Sorry, we wrote off what?
You wrote off $3,200 in bad debt expense, which was somebody's maintenance.
No. That's a listing that, it's a grouping that the auditors do. There was no bad debt involved, and when the auditors,
A listing?
no, it's a grouping or a listing or a name that the auditors have, because there is no bad debt, Tony. No one owed us that kind of money. It was never owed. It's not, there's no way to, I'll ask Betsy, do you want to explain that?
First of all, that's a question about the financials. This is about a budget meeting.
Well, that's what I'm asking, why isn't it on
The
the
auditors
budget?
chose that classification. We didn't choose, there's no such thing as a bad debt. And it doesn't matter if it's December 1st or January 1st. Nobody's debt gets wiped off. It continues forward, whether the calendar year ends or not.
So then what would that be then?
You're welcome to call and ask the auditors. They
So you don't know what that is?
No, we told, there is no
Because
debt write-off.
if you remember, the previous year that was covered, and that was the thing I had to discuss with the state, it was $1,800, that it was people's maintenance.
No,
So you did not budget?
Actually, there was never people, we never finished the year with people owing us, owing us money, unless there was a person who's in foreclosure or something like that. There's no bad debt attached to.
I'm only going by what they audited financials said.
So then-
All right, so there's no response.
We can write them, we can call them and ask them what to explain it so they can.
Okay.
You have a valid question, no problem. So we can call them and ask them, you want to know what that is actually, what it actually means?
Could mean nothing else, but go ahead.
Please, we'll call them.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. No, not your turn. Anybody else? Okay, now it's your turn.
Well, no, that's all right, they could.
No, I want to get someone else in. Does anybody have any questions?
Nancy, I guess, I don't know why Jim asked that question before about the treasurer's report, for what the balance, I guess, is in the checkbook. But again, going back and preparing the budget, we generally look at actual numbers. So this is the question I have. Last year at 12/31, you had a negative checkbook balance.
Right.
So has that been fixed, and are you working that in through this? 'Cause it was an overdrawn account. It was a negative checkbook balance as of 12/31,
Well,
like $300. In other words, you were bouncing checks.
No, we weren't bouncing checks. We've never bounced a check in this institution. Are you out of your mind?
Well,
Any of the letters that you have written to us about, or written to the state about, every single time, every single matter, every single issue,
Right.
there was never anything found, including the $14,000 that we spent for two of these ridiculously expensive audits, which money...
Well, that's not my fault.
No, I'm just saying, nothing, with all the letters, Tony, that you sent for years and years, and all the money that you particularly and personally cost this association,
Right.
trying desperately to find something wrong that we could possibly do. Nothing has ever been found.
Nothing?
Wrong. No, nothing.
You sure?
Yes, I am sure. Absolutely positive.
I have a lot of letters from the state
So
that
do
they've
I,
sent
sir.
you.
I could
sent
paint
you-
my bathroom with the letters I have from
That's
that
what you
state.
should do with
Yeah, well,
them.
no, I always
So
do.
getting back to the overdrawn account,
I don't know how to answer your question because there was not one. So
there's not one.
There was not one.
Then the audit is
There was
wrong,
no
is what
bad
you're
debt,
telling me.
And we have to check with, I have no idea what you're talking about, very honestly.
Oh.
Because the audit was done, it was $7,000.
Right.
And it came out fine. That's all I can say. So, next.
Only we were talking about.
Sir.